Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now. Their mission was simple: explore new star systems and look for planets that humans could live on someday. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it that way. The bridge was calm and peaceful. Most of the crew was doing their regular jobs. Lisa Thompson sat at her communications station, listening to the background noise of space. She wore headphones and watched her screens carefully. Alex Carter was at the science station, studying data from the ship's sensors. Everything seemed normal. Jake walked over to the captain's chair and sat down. He picked up his coffee cup and took a sip. The coffee was getting cold, but he did not mind. He had been drinking cold coffee for most of his 20 years in space. His wife always said he would drink anything as long as it had caffeine in it. "Captain," Lisa said suddenly. Her voice was sharp and worried. "I'm getting something strange on the communication channels." Jake put down his coffee cup and looked at her. "What kind of strange?" Lisa pressed some buttons on her control panel. She frowned as she listened to her headphones. "It's a signal, sir, but it's not like anything I've heard before. The pattern is all wrong." "Put it on the main speakers," Jake said. Lisa nodded and pressed another button. A sound filled the bridge. It was not music or voices. It sounded like electronic beeping mixed with something that might have been singing. The pattern went up and down, fast and slow. Sometimes it was loud, sometimes quiet. It did not sound like any human communication system. Alex Carter looked up from his science station. "Captain, that signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system. That's about 6 light years from here." Jake stood up and walked over to Lisa's station. "How long have you been receiving this?" "About 10 minutes, sir. It just started, and Captain ... Lisa looked worried. "The signal is getting stronger. Whatever is sending it is using a lot of power." "Alex, can you tell what kind of signal this is?" Jake asked. Alex was already working on his computer. Numbers and charts appeared on his screen. "Give me a few minutes, Captain. I need to run it through our analysis programs." Jake nodded. He had worked with Alex for 5 years. The man was good at figuring out puzzles. If anyone could understand this signal, it was him. The strange sound continued to fill the bridge. Some of the other crew members stopped their work to listen. Jake could see that they were curious but also a little worried. Strange signals in deep space could mean many things. Most of them were not good. "Lisa, are you picking up any other signals from that system?" Jake asked. "No, sir, just this one." "But Captain, there's something else. The signal keeps repeating the same pattern over and over, like it's trying to tell us something important." Jake walked back to his chair. He had been in space long enough to know that repeating signals usually meant one thing: someone was in trouble. "Keep monitoring it. Let me know if anything changes." 20 minutes later, Alex called out from his station. "Captain, I think I've got something. This signal is definitely artificial. It's not coming from any natural source. Someone or something is sending it on purpose." "Can you decode it?" Jake asked. "I'm working on it now. The pattern is complex, but there are parts that repeat. If I can figure out what those parts mean, I might be able to understand the whole message." Jake watched Alex work. The science officer's fingers moved quickly over his keyboard. More charts and numbers appeared on his screen. Sometimes Alex would stop and think, then start typing again. An hour passed. The strange signal kept playing on the bridge speakers. Jake had ordered the crew to continue their normal work, but everyone kept listening to the sound. It was hard to ignore. "Captain," Alex said finally. "I think this is a distress call." Jake felt his stomach tighten. You sure?" "Pretty sure, sir. I've been comparing the signal to our database of known communication patterns. There are similarities to distress calls from several different species. The mathematical structure is almost universal: short bursts, long pauses, then repetition. It's like they're saying, 'Help us, help us, help us,' over and over." Lisa turned around in her chair. "Captain, if this is a distress call, shouldn't we investigate?" Jake was quiet for a moment. The USS Liberty was an exploration ship, not a rescue vessel. They had some weapons, but nothing like a military ship. Their job was to explore and report back to Earth, not to get involved in alien problems, but Jake had been in space long enough to know the unwritten rules. When someone called for help, you tried to help if you could. It did not matter if they were human or alien. It was the right thing to do. Alex, how far is the Kepler 442 system? Jake asked. About 6 light years, sir. With our current engines, it would take us 3 days to get there. And we don't know anything about this system? No, sir. It's never been explored by humans. Our star charts show it has several planets, but we don't know if any of them can support life. Jake walked over to the viewing screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, someone was calling for help. They might be dying, they might already be dead, but they might also be alive and waiting for rescue. Lisa, send a message back to Earth, tell them about the signal and our position. Then prepare a course for the Kepler 442 system. Yes, sir. Lisa said she started working on her communications panel. Alex, I want you to keep working on that signal. Try to learn everything you can about whoever is sending it. Already on it, Captain. Jake sat back down in his chair. 3 days to reach an unknown star system. 3 days to find out who was calling for help and what kind of trouble they were in. He picked up his coffee cup and realized his hands were shaking slightly. In 20 years of space travel, Jake had never responded to an alien distress call. He had never even heard one before. But something about this signal felt different. It felt desperate and urgent, like time was running out. The USS Liberty changed course and headed toward the unknown system. Behind them, the signal continued to broadcast its plea for help into the darkness of space. Admiral Patricia Hayes sat in her office on Earth, reading reports from deep space missions. The morning sun came through her window and made patterns on her desk. She had been doing this job for 10 years, and most days were the same. Ships would report their findings, scientists would study the data, and Earth would slowly learn more about the galaxy. Her assistant knocked on the door and walked in. Admiral, we just received an urgent message from the USS Liberty. Captain Morrison says it's Priority 1. Patricia looked up from her papers. Priority 1 meant something very important was happening. She had only seen a few Priority 1 messages in her career. Put it on my screen. The wall screen turned on and showed Captain Morrison's face. He looked tired and worried. Behind him, Patricia could see the bridge of his ship. Admiral Hayes? 3 hours ago, we received what appears to be an alien distress signal from the Kepler 442 system. My science officer believes it's genuine. We are changing course to investigate. I wanted to inform Earth Command immediately. The message ended. Patricia stared at the blank screen for a moment. An alien distress signal. In 10 years as Admiral, she had never dealt with anything like this. She pressed a button on her desk. Get me General William Brooks and Fleet Commander Susan Martinez. Emergency meeting in conference room at 20 minutes. Patricia stood up and walked to her window. She could see the city below and the ocean beyond that. Earth looked so peaceful from up here. But she knew that peace might be about to change. 20 minutes later, she sat at a large table with 2 of the most important military officers on Earth. General Brooks was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had fought in the asteroid belt conflicts 5 years ago. Fleet Commander Martinez was smaller but just as tough. She had commanded ships in deep space for 15 years. So what do we know? General Brooks asked. Patricia showed them Morrison's message on the conference room screen. Not much. The USS Liberty detected an alien distress call. Morrison is investigating. What's his ship's capability? Martinez asked. The Liberty is an exploration vessel, right? Yes, light weapons, good. Sensors, small crew. It's not built for combat. General Brooks leaned back in his chair. And we don't know who sent this distress call or what kind of trouble they're in. No, but there's something else we need to discuss. Patricia pressed another button. The screen showed a map of known space around Earth. This could be our first real contact with an alien species that needs our help. Martinez looked at the map. Admiral, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Patricia nodded. If Morrison finds aliens in trouble, they might ask for military assistance. We need to be ready. General Brooks was quiet for a moment. Then, he said, Patricia, you know what happened the last time we got involved in alien conflicts? Patricia knew exactly what he meant. 5 years ago, human miners in the asteroid belt had fought against alien corporation security forces. The aliens had better technology and more ships. But the humans had won anyway. They won because humans fought differently than other species. Humans were willing to take risks that other aliens thought were crazy. After that fight, word had spread. Through the galaxy, other alien species started calling humans Deathworlders. They said humans came from a planet so dangerous that it made them into natural warriors. Most aliens came from safe worlds with gentle weather and no predators. Earth was different. Earth had storms, earthquakes, dangerous animals, and 1,000 other things that could kill you. These dangers had made humans tough and smart and willing to fight when they had to. Other species were scared of humans now. Some wanted to be friends, others wanted to stay far away. The aliens might already know about us, Patricia said. If they're sending a distress call, they might be hoping humans will come to help. Or it could be a trap, General Brooks said. Fleet Commander Martinez looked at both of them. There's only one way to find out. But if we're going to help, we need to send more than one exploration ship. Patricia had been thinking the same thing. How quickly could we put together a fleet? Depends on how big a fleet, Martinez said. She pulled out her tablet and started looking at numbers. We have 12 destroyers in Earth orbit, 6 cruisers at Mars base. The new dreadnought USS Vengeance just finished its testing last week. What about crews? That's harder. Most of our experienced officers are scattered across the solar system. It would take time to bring them together. General Brooks leaned forward. Patricia, are we really talking about sending a military fleet to help aliens we've never met? Patricia was quiet for a long moment. She thought about Captain Morrison, flying toward an unknown star system. She thought about whoever had sent that distress call. Someone out there was in trouble and asking for help? Bill, what would you do if you heard a distress call? I'd try to help, even if it was from someone you'd never met. Of course. Then we have our answer. Patricia stood up and walked to the window again. Outside, she could see spacecraft lifting, off from the military base. Earth's ships, carrying Earth's people to unknown places in the galaxy. Susan, I want you to start putting together a fleet. Nothing too big, but enough to handle serious trouble. Bill, get our best Marine units ready. For deployment, we might need ground troops. What about the politicians? General Brooks asked. They're going to want to debate this for weeks, Patricia smiled. That's why we're going to call this a training exercise. Fleet training in deep space. We won't tell them the real plan until... It's too late to stop us. Double quotes. Fleet Commander Martinez laughed. A training exercise with live ammunition heading toward alien space. Exactly. Patricia sat back down at the table. I want daily reports from Morrison. The moment he finds out what's happening in that star system, I want to know. If those aliens need help, we're going to give it to them. And if it's a trap? General Brooks asked. Patricia's face became serious. Then those aliens are going to learn why other species call us Deathworlders. The meeting ended and the 3 officers went to their jobs. Within hours, ships across the solar system received new orders. Crews were called back from leave. Weapons were loaded. Engines were tested. Most of the crews did not know where they were going or why. They only knew that something important was happening. Something that might change how humans fit into the galaxy. Admiral Patricia Hayes worked late into the night, making plans and sending orders. Outside her window, Earth's moon rose over the ocean. Soon, some of Earth's children would travel farther from home than they had ever gone before, and they would carry with them all the strength and courage that their dangerous home world had given them. Fleet Admiral Robert Kane stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and watched dozens of human warships gather around Mars. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen so many ships in one place. Destroyers, cruisers, and fighter carriers moved in careful patterns around the red planet. The massive dreadnought USS Vengeance floated nearby like a sleeping giant. "Admiral, the last ships are arriving now," said his communications officer. "We have 43 vessels ready for departure." Kane nodded. 2 days ago, he had been planning his retirement. Now, he was about to lead the largest human fleet ever assembled into unknown space. Admiral Hayes had chosen him because he had experience fighting aliens. 5 years ago, he had commanded 3 ships against an alien mining corporation. The battle had lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 12 alien ships were destroyed and Kane's small fleet had won, but this mission was different. They were not fighting for mining rights or territory. They were flying to help aliens they had never met, against enemies they knew nothing about. "Commander Richards, report to the bridge," Kane said into his communicator. A few minutes later, Tony Richards walked onto the bridge. He was the leader of the fleet's marine units. Richards was a big man with scars on his hands from ground battles on 3 different worlds. Kane trusted him completely. "Tony, how are your Marines?" "Ready for anything, Admiral. We have 2,000 of our best soldiers spread across the fleet. They all volunteered when they heard we might be fighting to save an alien species." Kane was not surprised. Human soldiers were strange that way. They would fight harder for strangers than they would for money or glory. Other alien species found this confusing. Why would humans risk their lives for people they had never met? "Any word from the USS Liberty?" Kane asked his communications officer. "Last report was 6 hours ago, sir. Captain Morrison says they will reach the Kepler system in 18 hours. Kane walked to the main viewing screen. Mars looked small and peaceful from here, but he knew that 43 warships gathering around any planet was not peaceful at all. This was the largest military force Earth had ever sent beyond the solar system. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral Kane, fighter squadron commanders are requesting permission to run final training exercises." "Permission granted," Kane replied. Amy was his fighter squadron leader. She had learned to fly in the asteroid belt, dodging rocks and debris at high speed. Her pilots could fly in conditions that would kill most alien pilots. Through the viewing screen, Kane watched small fighter ships launch from the carriers. They moved in complex patterns, practicing attack formations. To alien eyes, human fighter tactics looked like organized chaos. Human pilots flew too close together, took too many risks, and changed directions too quickly. But somehow it worked. "Chief." Engineer Paul Jackson walked up to Kane. Paul was responsible for keeping all 43 ships running properly. "Admiral, I've finished the engine modifications. We can make the jump to Kepler in 1 long leap instead of 3 short ones." "Is that safe?" Kane asked. Paul smiled. "Probably not, but it will get us there 12 hours faster. If someone is in trouble, 12 hours might matter." Kane thought about this. Human engineers were like human pilots. They took risks that other species would never consider. They pushed their machines harder and farther than the designers ever intended. Sometimes ships broke down. Sometimes people died, but sometimes they accomplished impossible things. "Do it," Kane said. 2 hours later, all 43 ships were ready. Kane sat in his command chair and looked around the bridge. His crew was young and experienced at the same time. They had all fought in space before, but never in a mission like this. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane," he said into the fleet communicator. "In a few minutes, we will jump to an unknown star system to help an alien species that is under attack. We don't know what we will find there. We don't know how dangerous it will be. But we know that someone called for help, and we are going to answer that call." Kane paused. He could imagine 43 ships full of human soldiers and sailors listening to his words. This is what makes us different from other species in the galaxy. When someone needs help, we help them. When someone is in danger, we protect them. It doesn't matter if they are human or alien. It doesn't matter if we know them or not. We help because it's the right thing to do. He looked at his bridge crew. They were all watching him with serious faces. "Some of you might not come home from this mission. Some of you might die protecting aliens you have never met. but you will die knowing that you made a difference. You will die knowing that you saved lives and stopped evil from winning." Kane stood up from his chair. "All ships, prepare for jump. We are going to show the galaxy why they call us Deathworlders." The fleet's engines began to charge. Energy built up in each ship's jump drive. Space around Mars began to shimmer and bend. "Jump drives at full power," Paul Jackson reported. "All ships ready," the communications officer said. Kane looked one last time at Mars. His home planet was 400 million kilometers away. After this jump, it would be much farther than that. "Execute jump," he commanded. Space twisted and the 43 ships of the human fleet disappeared. Behind them, Mars continued to orbit the sun. Ahead of them, an unknown star system waited. In that system, aliens were dying, and aliens were about to learn what it meant when humans came. To help, the greatest rescue mission in human history had begun. The human fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and stared at the main screen in shock. What he saw was worse than his worst fears. The system's fourth planet, a blue and green world that looked almost like Earth, was under attack. Hundreds of massive alien ships surrounded the planet like hungry wolves. Bright flashes of energy struck the planet's surface again and again. Even from this distance, Kane could see that entire cities were burning. "My God," whispered his communications officer. Kane had seen war before, but nothing like this. The attacking ships were huge, some of them 5 times bigger than the largest human vessel. They were dark gray and covered with weapon ports. As he watched, more energy beams lanced down. At the planet below, "Sir, I'm detecting the USS Liberty," reported the sensor officer. "She's hiding behind the system's second moon." "Get me Captain Morrison," Kane ordered. A few seconds later, Morrison's face appeared on the screen. The exploration captain looked tired and frightened. "Admiral Kane, thank God you're here. We've been watching this for 6 hours. The aliens down there don't have much time left. What can you tell me about the attackers?" "We call them the Dominion. The aliens on the planet told us about them. They're some kind of machine and organic hybrid race. They conquer entire species and turn them into slaves. The planet's defenders have been fighting for 3 days, but their shields are failing." Kane studied the tactical display. The attacking fleet was enormous. Even with 43 ships, the humans were outnumbered 3-1. In normal circumstances, any sane commander would retreat. But Kane was not thinking about normal circumstances. Down on that planet, millions of innocent aliens were about to die. Children were hiding in shelters while their cities burned above them. Families were saying goodbye to each other, thinking these were their last hours. "Commander Richards, prepare all Marine units for combat operations," Kane said. "Yes, sir," came the reply over the intercom. Kane turned to his tactical officer. "What are those Dominion ships doing exactly?" "They appear to be systematically destroying the planet's defenses, sir. The planet has energy shields protecting the major cities, but the shields are getting weaker. I estimate they have maybe 2 hours before total collapse." "Then we don't have time for careful planning," Kane said. He opened the channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane. We are going to attack the Dominion fleet and drive them away from that planet. I know we're outnumbered. I know their ships are bigger than ours. But remember what makes us different." He paused and looked around his bridge. His crew was scared but determined. "We don't fight like other species. We take risks they won't take. We push our ships and ourselves harder than anyone thinks possible. And we never, ever give up when innocent lives are at stake." Kane sat down in his command chair. "All ships, attack formation Delta. We're going straight at them." The human fleet began to move. The destroyers spread out in a wide line. The cruisers followed behind them. The massive USS Vengeance took position at the center of the formation, its heavy guns already charging. As they approached the Dominion fleet, Kane could see the enemy ships beginning to react. Some of them were turning away from the planet to face this new threat. But they moved slowly, like they could not believe anyone would be foolish enough to attack such a large force. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Dominion fleet, the communications officer reported. Put it on screen. A strange face appeared on the main display. It looked partly human and partly machine. Metal plates covered half its head, and one eye glowed with red light. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. Human vessels, you will retreat immediately. This planet belongs to the Dominion now. Leave or be destroyed. Kane stood up. Tell them we're not leaving. The alien face showed something that might have been surprise. You have 43 ships? We have 127. Your defeat is certain. Maybe, Kane said. But you're about to learn something about humans. We don't care about the odds when people need our help. The transmission ended. Kane turned to his tactical officer. All weapons, target the biggest ships first. Let's see how tough these Dominion vessels really are. The battle began with the human fleet diving straight into the enemy formation. To the Dominion commanders, this looked like suicide. No species they had ever fought used such direct tactics. Most aliens fought carefully, trying to minimize their losses, but humans were different. The human ships flew between the massive Dominion vessels, firing at close range where their smaller guns could do the most damage. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster led her fighter squadrons in attack runs that made the Dominion pilots dizzy just watching them. Commander Richards launched boarding pods at the Dominion flagship. The pods flew across space like bullets, carrying human Marines directly into the enemy ship. The Dominion had never seen anything like it. Their ships were designed to fight at long range, not to repel boarders the human Marines cut through. The hull of the Dominion ship and poured inside. They moved through the corridors like wolves, fighting with weapons and tactics the Dominion had never encountered. While most alien species preferred to fight from a distance, humans seemed to enjoy close combat. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Paul Jackson was working on something else. He had been studying the Dominion ship's energy signatures and had noticed something interesting. All their ships seemed to be connected by some kind of communication network. Admiral, Paul called out, I think I can disrupt their coordination. If I can upload a virus into their network, it might cause system failures across their entire fleet. Do it, Kane ordered as the battle raged around them. Paul worked on his computer. He created a virus based on human chaos theory, something completely alien to the Dominion's organized thinking patterns. The virus spread through the Dominion network like wildfire. Enemy ships began to malfunction. Some of them stopped firing. Others started shooting at their own allies by mistake, but the battle was far from over. The Dominion still had more ships, and they were starting to adapt to human tactics. Kane realized that conventional fighting might not be enough. That was when he made the decision that would change everything. Admiral Kane looked at the battle display and knew they were losing. The human fleet had fought bravely, but the Dominion still had too many ships. 3 human destroyers were already destroyed, and more ships were badly damaged. The enemy was adapting to their tactics. On the planet below, the alien city's shields were flickering and failing. In less than an hour, millions of innocent beings would die. Kane turned to his navigation officer. Plot a ramming course for the Dominion command ship. The bridge went quiet. Everyone stared at him. Sir? The navigation officer asked. You heard? Me. Set course to ram their flagship. Full speed. His tactical officer stood up. Admiral, that's suicide. The crew. Kane looked around at his bridge crew. These people had followed him across the galaxy to help strangers. They deserved to know why he was asking them to die. Listen to me, Kane said quietly. That command ship is controlling their entire fleet. If we destroy it, their coordination will collapse. The other human ships can finish the job and save the planet. His communications officer, a young woman named Lisa Grant, spoke up. Sir, what about evacuation pods? Kane shook his head. No time. And someone needs to make sure we hit the target. He opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands, this is Admiral Kane. In 2 minutes, we are going to ram the enemy flagship. This will destroy our ship and kill us all. But it will also save millions of alien lives and give our fleet the victory they need. Kane paused. He could imagine 800 crew members listening to his words in corridors and workstations throughout the ship. I want you to know that serving with you has been the greatest honor of my life. You are the bravest people I have ever known. In a few minutes, the entire galaxy will know what humans are capable of when innocent lives are in danger. He looked at his bridge crew one more time. Anyone who wants to leave the bridge should do it now. Nobody moved. Lisa Grant smiled at him. Where would we go, sir? This is our ship. This is our fight. Kane felt proud and sad at the same time. These people were going to die because he had made this decision. But they were choosing to stay with him. All engines maximum power. Kane ordered the USS Defiance began to accelerate toward the massive Dominion command ship. At first, the enemy did not understand what was happening. The human ship was flying straight at them with no weapons firing. It looked like the humans had lost their minds. Then the Dominion commander realized what Kane was planning. The huge enemy ship began to turn, trying to avoid the collision. But it was too big and too slow. Smaller Dominion ships tried to intercept the USS Defiance, but the other human vessels covered Kane's approach. Commander Richards, still fighting inside the enemy flagship with his Marines, heard what was happening over his radio. All Marines, get to the escape pods now. Richards ordered his men. This ship is about to be destroyed. The human Marines fought their way through the corridors to the escape pods. Most of them made it out just in time. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster led her fighter squadrons in desperate attacks against the Dominion ships that were trying to stop Kane. Her pilots flew suicide runs, crashing their small fighters into enemy weapon systems to clear a path for the USS Defiance. Chief Engineer Paul Jackson stayed at his post until the last second, keeping the ship's engines running at maximum power. When the ship's structure began to break apart from the stress, he was still there. Making sure they would reach their target, the USS Defiance struck the Dominion flagship at full speed. The collision was visible from the planet's surface as a bright flash of light. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lasted for several seconds. The effect on the Dominion fleet was immediate. Without their command ship, the enemy vessels began to malfunction. The virus that Paul Jackson had created spread even faster through their network. Ships started firing randomly or not at all. Some of them began to retreat. The remaining human ships pressed their attack. Without central coordination, the Dominion fleet fell apart. Enemy ships that had seemed invincible an hour ago were now confused and helpless. Captain Morrison, watching from the USS Liberty, saw his chance. All ships, concentrate fire on the largest remaining vessels. Don't let them regroup. The battle that had seemed hopeless suddenly turned into a human victory. One by one, the Dominion ships were destroyed or driven away. Within 2 hours, the alien planet was free. Morrison led a landing party down to the planet's surface. The aliens there were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They were tall and thin, with blue skin and large eyes. But when they looked at the human rescuers, their expressions were easy to understand. They were grateful. The alien leader, speaking through a translation device, said words that Morrison would never forget. We called for help, not knowing if anyone would answer. You came from across the galaxy to save us? You sacrificed your own people for strangers. We will never forget this. News of the victory spread quickly through the galaxy. The story of how humans had defeated the mighty Dominion fleet to save an alien world traveled from star system to star system. Other species that had suffered under Dominion rule began to hope. Within months, more distress calls reached Earth. The Karathi people were being attacked by space pirates. The Velyong colonies needed help against the plague that was killing their children. A mining station near the Galactic Rim was under siege by raiders. Each time, human ships responded. Each time, human soldiers and sailors risked their lives for aliens they had never met. The Deathworlders of Earth became known throughout the galaxy as the species that would always answer a call for help. Admiral Patricia Hayes, now promoted to head of the new Galactic Defense Force, stood in her office and looked at a star map. Red dots showed where human ships were currently helping alien worlds. There were dozens of them. Her assistant brought her another message. Admiral, we just received a distress call from the Antares system. Pirates are attacking a refugee convoy. Patricia smiled. Send the nearest response fleet. And tell them to hurry. Outside her window, Earth continued to orbit the sun. But Earth's children were scattered across the galaxy now, carrying their planet's greatest gift to the stars. The gift of never giving up when someone needed help.